Yeah, the car business is going to be destroyed now because this person's probably going to talk about this. But during like the lockdown, quarantine, all the car dealerships were overcharging for cars. And now everyone, for the most part, that it might be getting better now, but everyone owed more than what their car was worth because of them overcharging. And now the prices of cars have just come back down. So things aren't worth what they used to be. Now you put on top the tariffs.
Most companies have not been having a great year so far, but none are feeling the pain quite as much as car manufacturers. Of course, Tesla has been getting most of the attention as its stock price has plummeted by more than 50% since its peak late last year. Sales across the world have plummeted as the brand has become an unintentional political statement.
Yeah, I was gonna say people. I don't think that. I think that's because people don't want to buy Teslas because they're getting burned down.
Vibe with the type of people that buy electric cars. But the truth is that most other car companies are happy to let Tesla soak up the headlines because under the proverbial hood, they have a lot of problems of their own. Major brand bankruptcies are now basically inevitable. Will they, won't they trade wars are crippling supply chains, new manufacturers from China are undercutting global markets, and worst of all, people just simply can't afford to buy cars right now. And in response to this simple financial reality, automakers have responded by making their cars more expensive than ever before.
It's told Honda it wants to
the price of cars is insane.
Call off merger talks. That's according to a Reuters source on Thursday.
Honda, Mitsubishi, and Nissan had been in talks to form a joint holding company, but ultimately they could not agree on terms.
For buyers with limited income or credit scores, Jessica Caldwell of Edmonds says more Americans are opting for longer repayment plans.
And finally, Bill, for folks who are really struggling, you know I always say this one, pick up the phone, call your lender, let them know the truth. You're struggling and you need help.
That's crazy.
So the simple reality for most people in America is they can't responsibly afford to own a car. But they also can't afford not to own a car. The Federal Aid Highway Act of 1956 built out the American interstate system and decidedly made most cities extremely car-centric. These new highways connected cities, and lobbying from automobile manufacturers pushed local public transport out of the way in favor of car-friendly streets.
Huh.
The adoption of the car also let mostly middle-class white Americans move out of cities and into newly developed single-family suburbs built around independent transportation. According to data from the US Census and the American Public Transport Association, 92% of American households own a car, but only 55% have access to any form of public transportation. And even for those that do, it's not always reliable or practical. Now, this has hurt the finances of a lot of households in truly unprecedented ways over the last 7 decades, but it has been fantastic for business.
People have to be people. Draft. That was probably a great video. It was an hour and a half long though. We can't watch all that. We'll grow old and die before it finishes.
Has had the world's most valuable car market for most of the last century. Today, we have been
I was going to say something about this. Yeah, people just got to be better about keeping their cars longer and not wanting the coolest, newest stuff. I'm sure it was a great video, but we can't watch all that. Try to keep it to like 25 minutes.
Roughly twice as many cars as we do, but they also have almost 5 times as many people, so it's not really fair.
It did look really interesting,
we also,
though.
on average, buy much larger and more expensive cars. Even though China buys twice as many vehicles, total market revenue is roughly the same because we
that
spend
might be
almost
something
twice
I
as
watch
much on every car.
In my own time.
Our most popular models are so large that they can't even be sold into other major markets. But automakers don't mind because in the past, they have been able to make so much money from the American market that these vehicles are worth making even if they can't be sold anywhere else.
Dude, what happened to that Cybertruck?
Either by choice or necessity, we Americans are also far more willing to take on debt to purchase a new vehicle, often rolling equity from one vehicle into a down payment for a new vehicle with a new loan. Auto loans are now at a record $1.6
rolling equity.
trillion.
People are rolling negative equity into cars, meaning before we were talking about they still owe $10,000 on a car that's only worth $5,000. They'll take that negativity and they'll take the negative and they'll put that on top of the next one they're borrowing. And then that just pushes the problem down the road. And it doesn't fix the problem that caused the situation in the first place. So it's just going to be magnified. It's going to be doubled next time they come back. 3 years, 4 years from
double
now.
what they were just a decade ago, back when rates were also a lot lower. So yeah, America has a dangerous obsession with big cars and risky personal debt. I know what you're thinking. That's not exactly groundbreaking journalism, but a unique mix of record high debt, high interest rates, collapsing secondhand values, high sticker prices, stagnating purchasing power, and uncertain economic conditions.
I'll buy a clunker car and fix it myself before I go into debt. There's no shot. There's no way. You should never do that. Everyone should also learn a little bit how to do their own repairs. Not anything too crazy, but you could definitely save a lot of money that way. And that could help you buy something at the right price, get a good deal on something.
Might mean that the car market has created its own reckoning.
Or at least you know you're getting something that's in good condition.
Time to learn how money works to find out how much further the car market can stretch itself. This week's video is sponsored by FlexiSpot. I spent hours sitting at my desk every day, and my old chair just wasn't cutting it. Uncomfortable, unstable, and honestly overdue for a replacement. After searching for a high-quality ergonomic chair, I found the FlexiSpot C7 Max, built for all-day comfort and durability. The adjustable backrest moves up or down to fit your height perfectly, and the lumbar support isn't just for your lower back. It also supports your sacrum for better posture. The 3D adjustable headrest tilts to your ideal angle and can be readjusted in seconds, while the 5D armrests move effortlessly to support your arms while typing or gaming. Unlike basic chairs, this one has a 0.2-inch latex seat cushion with memory foam, designed to keep you comfortable for up to 12 hours without losing support. It also offers a 135-degree reclining backrest and customizable seat depth, so you can fine-tune it exactly how you like. Whether I'm working, gaming, or just leaning back to relax, the C7 Max keeps me supported in every position. And with a 30-day risk-free trial and a 10-year warranty, you can try it out.
I'm sold. I'll take one.
Check it out using my link in the description for the best price. And if you're on a tighter budget, the C5 model is another great option with solid build quality and essential ergonomic features. The price of an average new car has increased much faster than average wages. Today, the average car would set you back just under $50,000, which is only $9,000 shy of the average annual salary, before taxes.
Dude, I don't think you're making $60,000 working at Walmart. What's the minimum wage? Even if you get $17.50. $33,000 at just over minimum wage at 40 hours a week. I don't know where you're getting $60,000 at Walmart from.
Before taxes. Buying the car is also just step one. Insurance and maintenance on increasingly technical.
They said average.
Cars has also become more expensive over time. So, how can people afford to spend their entire income on a car? Well, of course, they can't.
The problem is the banks allowing people who only make $30,000 to borrow $35,000 to buy a car and pay it off over 7 years. That's the problem. Stupid.
According to data from the Fed, over 80% of new vehicle purchases today were...
You should never have more than 50% of your income in something that's going down in value, like a car.
Done through financing, and dealerships have recognized this as one.
So if you make $30,000, it would be smart, it would be fine for you to get a car that's $10,000 or $15,000 and finance that. That would probably be fine. You could spend $250 a month financing that. Instead, people are getting a car that's $35,000 or $45,000, and it's literally $750 a month.
One of their primary profit centers. The average dealership today is more of a loan shop with an occasional side hustle of selling some cars, and over time, they have become increasingly creative with how they will finance a vehicle. In the bad old days, people would just save up and buy a car, and then auto loans became more popular as other costs ate into average household budgets. People still had to put money down, but it was a way to make the car buying process less of an upfront commitment. Today, dealerships will use the equity in a half paid off car as the down payment for the next new car as long as the entire transaction goes through them. This is, or was, incredibly profitable because it let dealerships make a little bit of margin from the new car sale, the used car trade-in, and the financing. But this financing treadmill has now put the whole market in a very difficult position. Used car prices spiked during the pandemic as supply chain breakdowns caused shortages.
In the car business, people were saying this. I was a car salesperson. People have been saying we were getting ready for this for 10 years before I even started selling cars.
This let people trade in their old cars at higher prices.
And all this is just the bubble waiting to explode.
To put down payments on more expensive new cars. If you were lucky and had a popular model back then, you might have been able to get more for your 3 to 5 year old car than you had spent on it when it was new. Now, the trade-off was that new cars were hard to buy and often came with dealership markups to account for market pricing. Now, this wasn't a problem back then, but it is a problem now as those cars try to repeat the cycle of rolling debt into new purchases. The average price of a used car has fallen considerably because supplies are no longer a major issue, and budget-conscious used car buyers don't have as much disposable income as they did 3 to 4 years ago with low interest rates and stimulus checks. And if things were looking bad for gas cars, it's significantly worse for EVs, but more on that soon. This means people are still underwater with the cars they have purchased with significant markups back in 2022. Some of these people can't even afford to sell their car without putting their own money down to clear their debt, let alone use the equity in their car to buy a new car. To make matters worse, car companies noticed the markups that customers were willing to pay the dealerships and wanted some of that action for themselves. When it was difficult to get enough components to keep up with demand, car companies started prioritizing higher trim variations of the same model to maximize the revenue on higher margin unit.
You couldn't get lower trim level versions. They would, if they had 500 chips, there was low on the chip shortage, basically, if you remember that. If they had 500 chips, if they had enough chips to make 500 cars, they weren't going to make the lower trim level versions because they make more money when you buy the cars with more features, more options. So they just weren't making the cheaper ones and forcing you to buy only the expensive ones. And this actually made it harder for me because I was trying to sell cars.
Optional extras like driver aids, sunroofs, heated and cooled seats, better sound systems, and infotainment are all sold at a significant markup from their component costs. In some cars, these components are installed anyway, and the features are just manually disabled for customers who didn't select the optional extra. So manufacturers really liked creating these higher spec vehicles. This trend quickly resulted in the market today where affordable new cars, even from previously economy-focused brands, are all but extinct, and mid-range brands are now marketing themselves as competitors in the much more lucrative luxury market. Now, this is not unique to just the car market. A lot of companies have either gone down market to focus on a growing number of cost-conscious consumers or have taken their entire brand up market.
They have to, or you're not going to sell anything. You have to lower the prices. They'll make cheaper stuff.
Now account for 50% of all the spending done in the economy and are responsible for all of the economic growth. But the thing with the car market, we are going to have to try responsible.
What? According to recent analysis from the Wall Street Journal, households with the top 10% of incomes making $250,000 or more a year now account for nearly half of all consumer spending. So that means the top 10% are doing half of the spending for everyone, and the bottom 90% have to split the other half of everything. That's crazy.
For all of the economic growth. But the thing with the car market, and you are going to have to trust my math on this, but the top 10% of income earners only actually makes up 10% of the population. And even then, not all high-income households are interested in buying premium vehicles. Yes, some high-income earners have car collections, but this is still a very rare minority. As car equity dries up, interest rates have jumped, and new cars have become more expensive, it's become harder for dealerships to get deals done. Now, according to data from the Bureau of Economic Analysis, car sales have fallen, but not significantly. We are buying about 1 to 2 million fewer cars every year than we did before the pandemic. Not great, not terrible, right? Well, not exactly. All of these market conditions have combined with one unfortunate reality. Cars are just getting better. According to the S&P Global Mobility Survey, the average age of cars on the road in the US has increased by 3 years in just the last decade. It's increased by 2 years in just the past.
One of my cars is 35 years old. And then my other car is 26 years old. Both of them Volkswagens. And they barely function. But that's because I choose to have Volkswagens that are old and I modify them. I would just get a Toyota or a Honda if I wanted a regular car.
Past 4 years alone. This means people aren't buying new cars as often, and vehicle sales have been helped a lot by cars being sold 3 or 4 times over
Volkswagen or a BMW?
rather
That's
than
a
just
BMW.
once or
The
twice
gold
when
one.
vehicles don't last as long.
Hey,
New cars might have more features on them that can go wrong, but generally the essential stuff like bodies and drivetrains are far more robust than they have ever been. And yes, I can already hear some of you typing in the comments about Nissan CVTs. There are always bad examples, but generally it's never been a better time to be a used car
don't buy
buyer.
a Nissan.
The average person will happily deal with some outdated electronics or broken infotainment if they have a reliable form of transportation. This has also encouraged new car buyers to seek out more reliable brands because even though they might have a warranty for the entire length of their ownership, the market perception of reliability can have a big impact on resale price. Companies like Stellantis, which makes Alfa Romeo, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Chrysler,
Why is
have
the
their ownership,
headlight
market
in the
perception
bottom
of
left corner of the
reliability
screen
have
right here
big
doing
impact
a
on resale
light
price.
show?
Companies like Stellantis, which makes Alfa Romeo, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Chrysler, have been hit by this
What is
from
it
every
doing?
direction. They played a lot of funny business with financing and dealer markups when they could, and their cars are consistently rated as some of the least reliable on the market. This is also a real problem for their ambitions to make their cars look like a luxury competitor, because when people think of Jeep, they don't think of a luxury SUV. They think of their broke cousin who bought a clapped-out Wrangler off Facebook Marketplace for $2,800 and a lawnmower, as a completely random example. Now, it might almost be satisfying to see bad manufacturers who cut costs and jacked up prices to feel some consequences, but there are some bigger factors at play here that will unfortunately most likely end up hurting regular people who just need a way to get around. Most car companies are not allowed to simply fail. They employ too many people in valuable jobs, and in a lot of countries with large auto industries, they are a significant export staple. Too big to fail is not unique to the car industry, but struggling car makers are often the first sight of bad things coming as they depend on finance, global trade, consumer confidence, labor, and resource prices to all play nice in order to run a profitable car company. We are already seeing governments step in to ease these problems. Nissan is a failing company. Their sales have slumped as their lineup has aged and brand perception is at an all-time low.
They've just made too many cars.
Drivetrain components.
They've made way too many, and people, and we've just become a throwaway society where people just throw it out. They don't fix shit. If people could fix things themselves, I can't tell you how many times I've heard stories where it's like someone is buying a car for $500, $1,000 because the mechanic told someone that it was junked. The engine was bad, but someone buys it and fixes it for $50. It's a bad sensor. Then they drive it for 50,000 miles because the shop, the shady mechanic. Not that these shady mechanics exist. There could be a bad diagnosis. I've had it happen to me myself where a shop told me it was going to cost $1,500 to fix the problem. And that ended up not even being the real issue. They would have done that and maybe solved the real issue while they were in there. But that wasn't the problem. The problem was a dirty sensor. You could call it malicious or negligence. But good luck proving either. You can't. What I'm saying is if people put work into taking care of their own stuff, and not being a throwaway society where people are getting a new vehicle every 3 years with a lease, made things last longer, the car manufacturers wouldn't be making so many cars. They wouldn't have 1 billion cars on their lots.
brand has come from
The
extremely
whole business would be different. There wouldn't be people owing more than what their car is worth and then trying to trade it in. My favorite one was at the dealership when people were like, they don't like paying a lot of money. They said, oh, my payment's really high, but they want a more expensive vehicle and they don't want to put money down, and then they owe more than what their car is worth. So the car they want is cost more than what they got before. Interest rates are probably higher, and they have the negative equity from trading in the car they owe more on than what it's worth.
Financing. Even when
everyone's
else is arguably
so
pushing
screwed.
car financing too far, Nissan stood out as a brand that would write a loan on a new Maxima to basically anybody. The company also made a lot of sales to rental car fleets by offering aggressive bulk purchase discounts on their economy cars. This was a nice way to boost sales at the
84
time,
months.
but rental car companies normally only keep their vehicles for 2 to 3 years before dumping them on the used market. This caused resale prices to tank on used Nissans because so many hit the market at the same time. Now, this wouldn't normally be Nissan's problem. However, in an effort to make sales, the company introduced a financing promotion where they would ensure the future value of their cars in certain markets around the world, so they were on the hook to buy their cars back at above value. They got away with this for a while when used car prices were high, but it's a significant hidden liability for a company already struggling with debt. Nissan had effectively gorged itself with short-term wins, and now it's facing complete insolvency. The Japanese government had not so subtly
Yeah, I don't
tried
think
to
that
fix
was
these
the play.
problems by playing matchmaker in a proposed merger between Honda and Nissan. The deal was promoted as a merger of equals, which would create one of the largest manufacturers in the world. But nobody took this seriously. Honda had better sales, better brand perception, they were in a better financial situation, better products, and had better management. It was a merciful way to save thousands of jobs in Japan and across the world. Now, this particular deal fell through, likely signifying the beginning of the end for Nissan. But similar interventions are likely going to become more common as other automakers deal with the same kind of problems. So yeah, dumb companies played stupid games and won stupid prizes, and unfortunately, workers are going to be the ones to feel it the worst. However, hot take alert.
What's gonna
we
happen? Is
all
Honda
share some
gonna buy a
blame in this as
Nissan?
well. Cars are something that you and I, and everybody watching, are terrible at purchasing rationally. Whether we like to admit it or not, we do see the cars that we drive as a reflection of ourselves and the image we want to present to the world. Whether it's an EV to show that your RSUs got paid out, a lifted truck to show the Walmart parking lot who's boss, or a Chrysler Pacifica to show you have given up.
That's not a
Cars
Pacifica.
are inevitably a way to
Pacifica's
communicate
a
what we are
minivan.
about with total strangers. Even those people who have already left a comment talking about their 1996 Toyota Camry and how it's never going to die have still purchased an image. Their image is pretending to be better than the people who care too much about the car they are driving. Yes, car
No,
companies have become
that's not pretending. You don't want to spend money on something you don't have to.
really good at taking advantage of human weakness, but we keep on falling for it. Their
Buy
ads
an
are
old
almost
Toyota.
always about how their cars are seen, rather than what they do.
You'll
And it's
enjoy
all to
it.
show potential buyers how they can be seen. But as we are exposed to more advertising and social media where everybody is showing off their best life, this is resulting in some pretty alarming trends. Multiple surveys conducted on US and global car buyers found that Gen Zs, who are currently aged between 13 and 30, are the generation most likely to purchase a luxury car, despite having the lowest overall net worth, lowest incomes, and highest proportional levels of debt. Tragically, a lot of people in this generation are realizing very quickly that they may never be able to achieve financial independence or even financial stability. As a way to compensate for that, they are doing the next best thing, which is buying an expensive car to at least roleplay as people who aren't getting financially fucked from every angle. Now, the good news is yes, car companies can use brand perception to sell us on financially irrational purchases, but those same perceptions can come back to hurt them just as fast. So yeah, we gotta talk about Tesla. From its all-time peak, the company has lost more than $500 billion in market capitalization in less than 3 months. Uncertainty around trade wars, competition in global markets from highly competitive Chinese EVs, a general consumer shift back to internal combustion engines, and broader market slowdowns have all hurt the world's most valuable automaker. But let's be honest, whether you love him or hate him, Elon Musk is inextricably linked
I don't think I would get an electric vehicle. I would maybe do a hybrid.
Linked with the company's brand image. He has gone from someone who could be the sole marketing strategy for the entire company to an individual that is pushing a lot of people who would consider buying an EV away from the brand. Now, other car companies are probably really happy he is getting all of this attention, because even though it's a lot slower, people are pushing back against the idea of owning a
electric
car at all. Walkable cities
because of the stopping to having to charge. Maybe if didn't have to do that as much. And I like modifying my car, and I just like gas. It's different. It's like electric is like an iPhone, and it doesn't have a soul. But an internal combustion gas vehicle, they are all different, and every engine behaves differently, different designs, and they have different sounds, all kinds of stuff. But electric is just you hit gas, you hit the accelerator, it go. It's just all electricity. There's you've removed the soul from it.
Public transport, shorter commutes, and car sharing have all become much more popular issues across America. And while we have a lot of work to undo 7 decades of car-centric planning, having no car is becoming just as fashionable as having a fancy car. 3 years
Bicycle
ago,
is
I made a
cool.
video about why good company CEOs should not be visionaries. Somehow, that video is more relevant today than it was back then. So go and check it out. And don't forget to like and subscribe to keep on learning how money works.
There could be a day where we all just drive gas. I wouldn't be against it. I just wouldn't be the first person getting gas or getting electric. Did I say gas? When there could be a day when we're all using electric, I wouldn't hate it. Great Depression 2.0.